Reimagining Success, episode 191.
You're listening to Reimagining Success, the podcast where we help you reimagine your future, designing a life and career beyond the 9 to 5 that allows you the freedom, flexibility and fulfillment that you've been dreaming of. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg. Now, let's get started on those dreams.
We're back with another Ask Anna episode. So this is when I answer a question that's come in from someone here in the podcasting community, in my Facebook group, on a workshop that I've run. If you have a question for hashtag Ask Anna, you can email me at podcast@onestepoutside.com. You can message me on your favourite social platform where we're connected, Instagram, LinkedIn, or if you're in my email, whatever. So this is your opportunity. There are no stupid questions. If you have the question, I'm sure somebody else has it too. And I'd love to either answer the question, it could be a quick email, I'll send you a voice note, it might be a full podcast episode, a video, a workshop, who knows? So please, I'm here for you. I'm not just talking into the ether for my own sake. I want to be giving you content that's valuable and answering your questions. So please, please, please let me know if you have any questions for the next Ask Anna episode. Now, the question that came in from somebody in one of the workshops I did recently on personal branding was, how do I manage my personal brand when I have, and I'm kind of anonymizing this, I'm elevating it up, when I have more than one business, more than one job, right? So the specific question came from someone who has a legal business and background and they're moving into politics. But of course, it could be many things. And I'm a huge fan, as you may know, of Portfolio Career, being a marketing consultant for charities and also an adventure photographer, or being a yoga instructor and also a finance advisor, whatever that is, right? Even for me, to some extent, by definition, in fact, coaching, consulting, writing, speaking, it's kind of a portfolio career. So how do you manage your brand when you don't have that single-minded clarity of, I do this one thing? As a very personal example, when I first started, I was reluctant to post about coaching on LinkedIn, right? And not just online, but in person. How do I introduce myself? It was really tough to own the whole coaching. It felt so airy-fairy. If I was talking to corporate people, I still clung on to my previous work. I used to work at Procter & Gamble. There's that ego still. Or I'm a digital marketing consultant. I still, to be honest, put consultant on a lot of those formal forms I have to do because like coach, or I'm beginning to think I'm going to say coach and writer or something like that, because the writing, I'm really sort of leaning into that. But it takes a bit of confidence to say that, right? And for me, especially because I talked about quitting your job, escaping the 9 to 5, I felt really conflicted about posting about coaching, I'm trying to say, on LinkedIn, a professional channel where I also had corporate business clients who I was working with on other things. However, once I started tentatively and then wholeheartedly showing up on LinkedIn, I could do so with so much more integrity, authenticity. I felt really aligned, and I'm now myself across all touch points, right? Now, that doesn't mean I say the exact same thing to everybody. I'll choose to curate, I guess, an image or pitch myself in a particular way depending on who I'm speaking to, which is always powerful anyway. But I have an understanding of who I am as a whole person. I have kind of an umbrella mission, and then I do various things under that. So my general advice is, go for it. People will actually, and this is what I found, value it. And I even got, funnily enough, several corporate clients. And in fact, some people in those companies have worked with me as individual coaching clients, and others have given me amazing feedback and maybe even asked me to come in and do workshops and so on, right? So I've even seen positive results from it. Now, again, when it comes to introducing yourself in person, let's say, it's true that I always recommend having a really clear elevator pitch, X, Y, Z. I help corporate professionals quit their job and start a business so that they can create more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment, for example. But this is flexible and it should be adapted to the audience, the person. I've modified it a little bit for different channels like Instagram bio, LinkedIn, website, Facebook, etc. Also, depending on who you're speaking to actually in person, right? So even within my One Step Outside business, if I'm speaking to someone in corporate, depending on who I think I'm speaking to, I can either talk about helping people in corporate start a business, or I can talk more about the work-life balance, integration, personal branding. If I'm talking to people who've already started a business, I might focus more on helping them achieve sustainable success, build their personal brand, the 5 pillars. And again, taking a step back, I might choose to focus more on, again, those personal branding, work-life integration workshops or speaking, if I think the angle of that kind of piece would be more relevant than the individual coaching. So as management guru of the 80s, 90s, Stephen Covey said, seek first to understand, then to be understood. So one of the answers to how do you manage your brand when you have a few different strings to your bow, that portfolio career, is that you need to understand who you're speaking to, and then you can give them kind of and I say pitch, but really it's just a conversation introduction, let's say, give them a relevant answer. And also, by the way, most people don't care. So if I say, I work for myself, most people go, oh, great, and move on. So it's simple. Second, you want to try to elevate beyond your specific roles and businesses to find that umbrella theme. And I think I did a full workshop on this a few years ago. So if you're interested, let me know, podcast@onestepoutside.com or message me on social. But who are you? What do you actually stand for? What do you want to be known for? That's the whole point of a personal brand. It lives above and beyond any specific business. So, I always give the example of Richard Branson, who, yes, is obviously a massive example. But if he had only, branded sort of Virgin Music, etc., he could never have gone into Virgin Galactic and everything. And certainly he as an individual is kind of no tie, fun, whatever else he stands for, right? He's got a very clear personal brand that lives above and beyond. And his Twitter following, of course, is massive compared to any of his specific businesses. So that is the whole point of personal brand. You are a whole person. So really try to think of your values, your strengths, your skills, your mission, what you want to be known for. That's really critical. And yet, of course, it depends a little bit on the nature of your different roles in business. If they're actually conflicting, my provocative question for you is, should you actually be doing them? So if there's a disconnect in values, if a client in one wouldn't appreciate what you're doing in the other, should you really, or rather, do you really want to be working with those clients? Because again, from my experience, you feel so much more aligned and wholehearted and authentic. You'll get better results. You'll just have so much more clarity. Things will flow more if you can find a coherent, compelling way to bring it under an umbrella that makes sense. Now, it is possible that the situation is temporary. For example, you might be continuing in one day job as you grow your side hustle, and then you might also not be able to because of conflict of interest post, let's say, I don't know, you're a recruiter or something on LinkedIn. You can't then perhaps also share a particular side hustle, but then consider different channels, right? You could start building, for example, that charity consultant, I could build that business on LinkedIn and I'll do my adventure photography business on Instagram, for example, right? So have a think about that. However, an example that comes to mind is Pete Can, who you may have seen on Britain's Got Talent recently because he was on a couple of months back. He is a business owner as a catering business. He's won awards for that. That's his sort of day job, as it were. Of course, took a bit of a back seat during the pandemic, and he discovered laughter yoga, and he's become known now as the Laughter Man. So he does that on LinkedIn. He went on to Britain's Got Talent and shared that a little bit, and he got some great airtime and coverage and so on. And he does that, his catering clients certainly don't disrespect him, I hope, and don't buy less from him just because he shares his laughter piece. It makes him more interesting and unique and exciting to talk to, right? So those are two they're not conflicting, but they're certainly not related to each other, being the laughter man and a caterer, let's say, but it makes him so much more interesting. So really think about, be a bit more open-minded. Don't assume, don't project your own insecurities on other people. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Allow them to be interested in what you do and so on. And yet the caveat is, of course, if they really are conflicting, then A, should you be doing them at all? And B, can you do them on different channels, at least temporarily? But that's the answer, really, right? So how do I manage it? Well, elevate beyond the individual pieces. Who are you? How can you bring that together? And in a way, it sort of translates into a personal brand website, right? There are different ways of grouping it. So I've chosen on my annalumbo.com now to do speaking, coaching, workshops, for example. You could have, it doesn't, let's say for Pete Can, he could have a section which is Laughter Man. He could have then a link off to his catering business, because your personal brand website is you. I haven't chosen to do that, but it could be more personal. You could even share your hobbies and interests there, right? If there's a huge part of it, you're a really avid surfer or you have a camper van and so on, that could be part of the content you share on social media. We talked a while ago about standing out in a cluttered market, and that's what that's all about, right? It's about sharing your eccentricities, your quirks, your personal interests, insofar as you want to share those openly and publicly. But it's not as challenging as you think. If you disagree, if you're really struggling, then I would like to hear from you. I have been doing calls recently just to understand, sort of for research for my sake, but also, of course, I'm hoping to be able to help you to find that red thread through the different things that you've been doing over your career, through the different things you're doing now or want to be doing. And first of all, get you clarity and confidence on who you are and what you stand for. And secondly, find a way to present that in a compelling and coherent way, possibly for future employers, rather, if you're looking for another role, certainly for your different clients. And just generally, it feels so much better to be able to introduce yourself with confidence. Even, I keep giving examples of dinner parties. If I go to dinner parties all the time, that would be nice. But to be able to go, hey, yeah, I do this, and be really excited and passionate about it, and not be like, oh, I do coaching, which is really uncomfortable. Oh, I kind of do this, and I also do that, and then you lose people. So if we come back to, a few weeks ago, we talked about referrals and recommendations as well. You do need to be really clear on what you do. Again, remember, depending on who you're talking to, you might introduce both or all three of your things. You might say, actually, you do a number of different things. I do some writing, I do coaching, I do consulting. And then if they're interested, they can probe more. If not, they'll move on. Or I can choose to only talk about coaching because I'm in a coaching world, or I can talk only about the writing because I'm in a writing workshop. Who knows, right? So it's not saying that you're lying or being fake or in any way, but you're choosing the most relevant pieces, really, and that's fine. You get to choose what you share with whom, so completely up to you. So hopefully that's reassuring, takes a bit of the pressure off. Listen to who you're speaking to, understand what's the most relevant piece, and you can share as much or as little as you want to. But again, if you're stuck, do send me a message, comment below. If you're listening somewhere where you can comment, send me an email at podcast@onestepoutside.com, or send me a DM, PM, whatever. I'd love to speak to you, again, for my own selfish purposes, to understand the challenges you're facing so I can really develop content that will help other people like you. And of course, I'd love to talk about how I could help you, perhaps with one-to-one coaching. I've been toying with a small, intimate, personal brand group program, so that's an option as well. So do get in touch. But I hope that's been reassuring, insightful. I hope that's given you something to think about when it comes to your diverse interests and projects. And I'll see you back here next week when we have a pretty exciting interview coming up for our Escaping the 9 to 5 series. I'll see you then. Bye for now. If you're looking for help with getting clarity on who you are, what you stand for, what your personal brand should be, can be, then I can help you get clear on what you want to stand for, map out how to amplify your message, and step up as a true leader in your industry. So get in touch to book a call and we'll chat about how I can support you with your personal and professional goals. So that's at onestepoutside.com/call, onestepoutside.com/call.